Well, I didn't expect to be making this video. So, CM Punk returned to wrestling for a show called AEW Collision. And after the show went off air, CM Punk had some words, which were him openly supporting trans kids. That's right. Supporting the transing of kids. Yeah, let me just repeat that. This guy, CM Punk, went out there in front of the audience with a microphone in hand, brought a kid with a sign that says support LGBTQ plus youth, and CM Punk said that he supports the transing of kids and goes on to talk about how he retweeted this apparent ice cream company that is donating proceeds to transing kids. So, from my point of view, and the point of view of most sane people, this is a particularly evil statement. If you support transing kids, you're either a pedophile or you're a monster or you're a combination of both. Because there is absolutely no justification in any context for transing kids. None. There's no way to rationalize it or explain it. It doesn't make you hip. It doesn't make you cool. It's not like, oh, well, I'm so in, I understand this. And the reason why Punk says that he supports this, and we're going to watch this in a moment from this YouTube short, is because, well, when I was growing up, didn't fit in either. It's not about fitting in. There are people that don't fit in. There are people that can't really find their right place. Transing kids is evil. You are taking a confused youth and saying that the only alternative, the only possibility, is to put you in this conveyor belt, this assembly line of the medical industry to make you go through these inhuman surgeries. Like, we've seen the surgeries where they take the skin from the forearm. I can't show it because YouTube would very, very likely nuke my channel, but it's horrific. And they take that skin and they fashion a meat flap that people are calling a penis. It is one of the most grotesque and inhuman things that you can do. And this guy just casually throws out there that he supports this, that this is normal. No, it's not. If you are for transing of kids, if you are for the sexualization of kids, which is what the LGBTQ movement is, the LGBTQ movement, every letter of that alphabet is about a sexuality and a sexual attraction or preference. If you are for that for kids, you are evil. And you are promoting this evil shit because you think it makes you look good, or you're convinced that, I'm so forward thinking that, the mutilation and sexualization of kids, that's totally fine. Um, I have lost all respect for this guy. I mean, everyone was rooting for him to come back. Zero respect for this guy. No courage whatsoever. I mean, what he's saying here is the standard line. It's what people say. It's not edgy or cool or progressive to say this. It's by the numbers. This is what the government and corporations are promoting and standing by. He's not being a rebel by saying this. They support the transing of kids. Target is putting little baby onesies, tuck-friendly onesies for kids, in the front of their store. This is not some edgy, like, I'm a rebel type of shit. This is evil, pedophilic, godless, atheist, demonic shit. And people kind of pull back from that when they hear that, but it is what it is. In the Bible, demons refer to themselves as they, them, we, us. And it's evident that this is a demonic ideology. The way that they treat religion and decency and goodness is with utter contempt and revulsion. And this guy goes out there and says, I'm for the transing of kids. If, from my point of view, if you're for the transing of kids, that says a lot about you in the worst possible way.
The reason I support trans kids, trans grown-ups, gay, straight, lesbian, whoever, is because I know when I was growing up, I didn't fit in anywhere. But it was because of the clothes I wore, what my hair looked like, the music I listened to. Those are all things I...
Well, thank God, Phil, that somebody didn't misinterpret that and there wasn't a trend going on where a bunch of influencers and celebrities were advocating that the solution to you being a little bit different was for you to fucking cut off your genitalia and join this cult of demented, demonic, perverted weirdos, these freaks. Thank God you didn't have to go through that. But because you dressed a little different, you didn't really fit in, you support the transing of kids? I don't care about the other stuff you support. But that kid that he has in the ring is holding a sign that says, I support LGBTQ youth. Kids. This is about kids. Stay away from the fucking kids, you pedophile. That's really what it comes down to. I don't know if you're sexually attracted to kids, but at this point, I don't care. You're advocating for the sexualization of kids. LGBTQ youth is a sexual cult. And you're saying, I'm for that for the kids. No, nothing wrong. Nothing to see here. It's cool. It's Pride Month, you know. I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, this is... If you wanted any more evidence that demons are real, you can see this shit everywhere. Because there is no logical, rational explanation. This is not a normal thinking mind. Because it takes 2 seconds of contemplation to realize, hey, you know, maybe I shouldn't be talking about, you know, sexualizing kids. Maybe that's not an appropriate topic. Maybe, like, hey, you know, I should be advocating for, you know, mental health, therapy, and all this other stuff. No, he said, I support trans kids. I support transing kids. That's what this guy's about. And it's, again, it's not, that's not counterculture. That is mainstream government corporate culture in America. And it's sick. And unfortunately, you've got guys like this that come out there and say this stuff. And, oh, I don't care. I'm going to be, yeah, I don't care if it gets hate. The reason it gets hate is because what you're saying is fucking evil. Now, the people in the crowd who like you are going to cheer for this bullshit. But the truth is, I'm not. And most people are not. Now, I'm not saying that you should send this guy hate. I don't think it's worth the time. This guy feeds off of that. He's a pro wrestler. But I think it's important to take a look at who's saying this stuff. To keep a note of this. That this guy, Phil Brooks, CM Punk, is actively in favor of the sexualization and mutilization of children. That's what he's saying here. That he is in favor of taking kids, young people, who are confused, and sterilizing them putting them through the conveyor belt of the medical facility. So that's surgeries, that's pills. That I mean, there's so much that goes into that, and the medical industry profits greatly from that. And you are sterilizing young people and irreversibly and irrevocably altering and ruining their lives. All because you think that this makes you noble or more enlightened. It doesn't. It just makes you somebody who's going with the flow, saying what you think that you should say. How fucking dare you? How embarrassing. You wore certain clothing, you listened to certain music you didn't fit in. So now, when you're an adult with a functioning fucking brain, you're going to advocate that these young people who are confused, that they have this irrevocable, life altering surgery and sterilization. There are young people who look up to this guy. And him saying dangerous shit like this is genuinely disgusting. Now, when he said trans adults, who cares if, from my point of view, if you want to, and you're over the age of 18, and you're like, all right, I want to end my entire lineage. I'm going to sterilize myself. I'm going to pay a fortune to these doctors. I'm going to basically ruin my life and bankrupt any potential future family I might have. If you're an adult, fine. Go do it. But when you're talking about kids, you're talking about children. This guy is talking about children. He specifically said children and then added adults. Like, I'm for trans kids and trans adults. There is no justification, there's no rationale, there's no explanation in the world that will explain away or excuse the statement that you are for the transing of children. Nothing. There's no addendum to that, there's no filler, there's no extension, there's no add-on. The moment that you say you are for transing of kids, that has let me know that you are an immoral, despicable person. And any other issue that you speak on politically, I can tell that your position is going to be one that is based entirely around what's trendy, what's popular. You do not have a leg to stand on any issue. Because if you can't figure out that mutilating and sexualizing children is a bad idea, I don't know what to tell you. That's about as basic as it gets. Do not sexualize or mutilate kids. Leave kids alone. Stop pushing the sexualization of kids. Do you understand? Pedophile Phil, do you get it? Are you clear? Stop pushing the sexualization of kids. That's what you're doing. You may, well, I'm not doing that. I'm advocating for, no, you're not. You're not advocating for people getting mental health treatment and them recovering. What you are saying is, I am for this irreversible and very expensive surgery for young kids who are not capable of making a fully informed decision. I am for young people being given hormones by doctors and maybe teachers who have determined that, well, we can't let the parents know. This is a major issue, and this pro wrestler, this dumbass, is going out there and just blurting out that he supports the sexualization of kids. LGBTQ youth? Youth? What is gay? What is the G in LGBTQ? Well, it's gay. What is gay? Well, it's the sexual attraction to men. You're a man and you're sexually attracted to men. Okay, what is the L? Well, the L is you're a woman, which, by the way, lesbian has been obliterated by the trans community because what is a woman? Well, we can't really define what a woman is. A woman is a feeling in your brain. But, let's use the traditional definition. What is a woman? Well, it's a biological adult human female who is attracted to other biological adult human females. So it's a sexual attraction. Bisexual, in the name. Trans, transgender. Well, I mean, I think at this point the trans community and the queer, like the TQ, has sort of been cut off, like to save the leg. You cut off the leg to save the rest of the body, just because how perverse and evil that stuff has become, like the drag story hours with kids. I mean, all that stuff, like the burlesque shows in front of kids. It's unconscionable. It's disgusting. But if you put all of them together, it's like, what is drag queens? Drag queens are a sexual performance where you have men dressing up as women. And these very provocative shows and presentations. The trans community, it's a little more complicated in explaining what it is, but essentially it's you are feeling like you are the opposite sex, but ironically enough, a lot of the times you have people who are like, I'm trans. So you have a guy who believes that they're a woman and then goes through the surgery and goes through all the stuff, and then they're attracted to women. So, and according to them in their delusion, they're actually a woman now. So that would technically, in their mind, make them a lesbian. So all of that, all of the letters are about sexuality. And you're wanting to add that to kids, to make a youth program for the LGBTQ. That is fucking evil. There is no excuse for it. There is no rationale. There is no justification. So, Phil Brooks, for whatever reason, felt compelled to say this. I don't really understand it. I don't know why you'd be proud of this. I mean, he's not an idiot. He's a smart guy. He listens to himself, I'm sure. I support trans kids. Do you really stop to think about what it means when you say that? I support trans kids. You support children going through irrevocable, life-altering surgeries, taking irreversible chemicals and a cocktail of God knows what. You've got so much shit that they're taking for this stuff, changing every bit about them and making them infertile and making them sterile so they can't have kids, they can't have a family. If for some reason they realize, well, maybe I was just a little bit confused, or how about this, maybe they're gay. That's the trans community has done irrevocable damage to the lesbian and gay communities. Because you have a young kid, he's into more girly things. He kind of likes boys. Well, he must be a girl. No, what if he's just gay? It's like, the transing of kids is one of the most evil things across the board. Even gays deserve the ability to grow up and be able, if they want to have a family. Because if you're gay, you're attracted to men, you can still use your seed, thanks to modern technology, or, have, surrogate parents and stuff like that. You're still able to pass on your genes, to pass on your lineage. But when you trans somebody, it is irreversible. You can't undo that. You are condemning kids to a life of sterility and basically rumination over a decision they made when they were confused, and because a trend was going on and they saw their favorite wrestler CM Punk supporting it, they decided to get it, only realizing years later what a complete and total disaster that was. And all because, again, this guy says he wore different clothes and listened to different music, and so that makes him edgy, that makes him counterculture, so he's going to repeat the same talking points as Bud Light and Target and other major corporations and the government. Yeah, what a true rebel you are, Mr. Brooks. Unbelievable. I mean, this is just really sad that CM Punk would come out in favor of the mutilation and sexualization of kids, because that's what that is. There's no other way to define it or to readjust it or to be like, well, no, what he really meant was, no, he said he's for the transing of kids. He's for trans kids. Which, trans kids are not a thing. Or at least they shouldn't be. If you are transing children, you are evil. That is cruel. That is demented. That is pedophilic. No, and there is no place for it in any society. Ever. Anyway, that'll do it for today's video. Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll see you next time.